This is section 4.1, ratios. Our objective today is to write ratios and use them to compare quantities. Let's start with our new vocabulary. A ratio is a comparison of two quantities by division. So ratios of two quantities, A and B for now, can be written in three ways: A to B, A colon B, and A over B. All three of these are read as the ratio of A to B, and they should always be written in simplest form. Equivalent ratios are two ratios that name the same number. This is the same as writing equivalent fractions. Let's write some ratios. We're going to look just in this pink section of the keyboard. We're going to write the ratio of black keys to all keys in three ways. So if you count, there are 5 black keys in that section. There's our first number. We count the total keys, there are 12. So to write the ratio, we write 5 to 12. We can write 5 colon 12 and 5 over 12. That is the ratio in all three ways. The ratio of white keys to all keys, well, we count, there are 7 white keys to 12 total keys. Notice that the order does matter. I could not say 12 to 7. It would not fit this situation because we have to have white first and all second. Our other way of writing this is 7 colon 12, and the third way is 7 over 12. The ratio of white keys to black keys, well, there are 7 white keys to 5 black keys. We can write this as 7 colon 5 and 7 over 5. Next, we're going to find a ratio equivalent to 4/5. To do this, we take our fraction, or whatever our ratio is, and we just multiply both parts. So let's multiply both by 2. So the equivalent ratio would be 8 to 10. We could have also multiplied by 3, 4, 5, 10, 600, whatever we want to multiply by. Let's say I chose 10. So an equivalent ratio would be 40 over 50. These are two different ratios that are equivalent to 4/5. Now we're going to write the ratio of 2 yards to 20 feet as a fraction in simplest form. The first step is to just write it as a fraction. 2 yards to 20 feet is 2 yards over 20 feet. Now the problem here is that the top one is yards, the bottom is feet. We need to change yards into feet. There are 3 feet in the yard, so 2 yards is 6 feet. Over 20 feet. These feet just kind of cancel each other out, and then we simplify. We know that 2 goes into 6 and 20, so I get 3 over 10. There's our simplified ratio. So try these two. Find a ratio equivalent to 7/9 and write the ratio of 3 gallons to 10 quarts as a fraction in simplest form, noting that there are 4 quarts in a gallon. All right, to do this, a ratio equivalent to 7/9, you could write any number of them. I like to just go with the simple one, 14 over 18. The ratio of 3 gallons to 10 quarts, you should have done 3 gallons over 10 quarts. Well, then we should change 3 gallons into 12 quarts over 10 quarts, and then that'll simplify to 6 over 5. Now for comparing ratios. To compare ratios, we want to put all ratios in a common form. You get to pick whichever you'd like. So if you want to do like 3 to 5, 3 colon 5, or 3 over 5. I personally like to use fractions. Step 2 is to get all ratios into common terms. So for example, if we use fractions, we would put them all into common denominators. And then step 3, we can compare and order the ratios. So an official U.S. flag has a length-to-width ratio of 19 to 10. The largest U.S. flag measures 505 feet by 255 feet. We want to decide if it's an official U.S. flag. Let's look at our ratios. I like to write them as fractions. So 19 over 10 and 505 over 255. We're basically deciding, are these equivalent ratios? Well, to get them into common denominators, I'm going to turn them both into 510s because 255 times 2 is 510, and 10 times 51 is 510. So let's look at the one on the left first. I multiply the 10 by 51, so I multiply the 19 by 51, and I get 969. I multiply the 255 on the one on the right by 2 to get 510. I multiply the 505 by 2 and I get 1010. These two are not equal, so it's not equivalent ratios. So is it an official US flag? No, it is not. Try these three. Are the following ratios equivalent or not equivalent? For the first one, A, we would rewrite this. Let's get it into common terms. Let's change that 3 into a 54 by multiplying by 18. So we're going to multiply the 7 by 18 as well. We get 126 to 54. Well, 126 and 128 are not the same, so these are not equivalent. All right, 180 over 240 and 25 over 34. Couple different ways we could do this, but I'm going to take 180 over 240 and I'm going to simplify it down by dividing the top and the bottom by 60. So I get 3 over 4. Well, 4 doesn't go into 34, but it does go into 68. So I'm going to multiply by 13. Oops, I'm going to multiply by 17 on the top and the bottom. So I end up with 51 over 68. Well, for 25 over 34, I multiply the top and bottom by 2, and I get 50 over 68. Close, but not quite the same, so these are not equivalent. And 6.1 to 7 and 30.5 to 35. I noticed that my 7 and my 35 could easily both become a 35. So I'm going to multiply the one on the left by 5. So I get 30.5 to 35. Notice they are exactly the same now, so these are equivalent. Your assignment is worksheet 4.1.